I just bought an American flag fanny pack, which this is funny when I look at it. So it's worth it's worth the money because it's funny. Um, but on the bike, sometimes my neck gets a little sore. Um, so also, they're having a Native American event in my town. So I got some Native American earrings and a Native American choker, and these are cheap, and this is a cheap thing. But this is a real vintage Native American choker. So I already had these. I did not buy them. I did not buy them for the festival that's coming up. But how wild! And I think they had one here last year. They had one here last year. But anyways, maybe they're having this festival just for me. They are coming from out of state to a small city in Ohio. So I think this is New Jerusalem. And part of me thinks, are you guys coming for me? I do have some Native American. My mother's side of the family is Native. But of course, if you know anything about history, the languages and a lot of the culture was done away with. An attempt to modernize. And this is not westernized. This is because the devil wanted to control. But also, it was just time, like enough people had had that type of experience. But it's still fun. So I thought I'd look a little silly, have some fun with this festival coming up. So I found these, I don't know if these are native earrings. They're probably inspired. This is a real vintage choker, and this is just something cheap that it's made to look like Native American. So, and then of course, who can resist this here? And I've got a nice little a life recovery badge because I'm going to be restored by the Lord. Life recovery. And I've got, this is a boxing glove here. A boxing glove, a green. I like the color green. Life recovery, American flags, my combat boots. So, and of course my hat. So I'm going to be very fashionable. I don't know if I'm going to wear this or not, but anyways, I thought that I would try to enjoy myself. And the coven keeps trying to keep me out of dances and balls. And I don't even like to do this thing. But what's funny is this is actually, like, I think they're doing a dance or something. It's traditional native dancing, so it counts too. So, my webcam stopped working on January 22nd. It is now, it's now, May, shoot. It's, May 13th. But I'm going, whoa. I'm going way back to May 13th. I've got, okay, I'm going back to May 13th now. Go to Rome and see how Paul lived. No thanks. Yeah, actually, hopefully he can repent. I don't know if he did repent. And maybe he didn't even say half of the things attributed to him. But I know the spirit behind it. I've been shown it. So, he at least was a traitor to Christ. But maybe he came around and repented later. I don't know. That's something that I'll find out. I would like for him to repent. But oh my goodness, all the damage done to the world because of what the Pharisees taught that is in the Bible, that King James put in there, and he removed certain things and he put certain rules in. The selective truth that is in the Bible has harmed many people. And I'm saying truth. It is true, but it's selective truth. And there's also problems with the translations that kind of change the meaning and the context. They add in the rules, they add in their hierarchies, and everything is wrong. But actually, a lot of these far left woke things, yes, they're evil, but they actually have truth. God is kind of like what they claim their politics are is actually how God is. But then they're just wolves in sheep's clothing that lie. Anyways, but they really use like God's agenda for evil. Um, so if everyone is equal, it doesn't mean we elevate, quote, minorities. So no, who's a minority? No one's a minority. We're all souls. But anyways, I'm gonna go back to the 20. Shoot, I don't even know what. I just opened this up and it says the 22nd, so we're gonna find out. Where I last left off, I don't know. So well, shoot, man. Okay, I think this is right here. So I forgot a few things, which I'm not going to put in here. There are people that might be pretending to be poor and going to the soup kitchen that might be doing better off. I'm not going to... this is just based on something I saw. I'm not going to go into details. Something that happened is there's all different types of people that went to the soup kitchen, all different types of enemies. There's all different types of covens. There is a black coven that was sent after me. And there was a black man who I believe is a gay man. And I think he had a cowboy hat, or he had cowboy boots on. And he was kind of cool, but he was an enemy, and he tried to kill me with a spell. But anyways, he was trying to do a death spell, which I flipped and reversed on him. But he also stood up and he spoke in front of the people in the soup kitchen. He did like poetry, or he gave a speech, something about Jesus. So anyways, and I think he speaks about the suffering of Christ. I'm not sure, but anyways, he's kind of cool, even though he tried to kill me. But anyways, he came up to me like the day before. He stood next to me and he said, "You're very chosen." He said, "What did you learn today?" Oh, that's what it is. I can hardly remember this. What did you learn? And I said, "I learned I can leave my bike unlocked." And he said, "You are very chosen. And if someone steals your bike, we will bring it back to you." Yeah, we'll go get it for you. They knew that there was a tracker in the bike anyways. They think I don't know. It's hidden inside the frame. It's not in an easy location to find. Okay, someone cursed me at the gym. My water bottle fell on the floor and I had to throw it away. When I looked at my watch, it was 2:22:17. So I write down these numbers. Like, I don't look at my watch, every few seconds. But, like, especially when I'm at home, I might look at it once every hour or two. I looked at it. It was exactly 2 o'clock, 22 minutes, and 17 seconds. So that's pretty wild. And that's because I was practicing guitar. When I stopped, I looked at my watch. That's what it was. And then I went to the gym. And when I was at the gym, I looked at my watch when I was in the massage chair. And it was 3:34:33. This is the truth. I don't lie. I might change my mind. I change my mind, but I don't lie. So, so at home, after I practiced the guitar, I looked at my watch. It was 2:22:17. And then I was going to go to the gym. I go to the gym. I get there. I get in the massage chair. Then I look at my watch. It's 3:34:33. So, and then I wrote like 16 equals 7. So let me try to add those numbers up. Well, also the 2:22:17 is 2 sevens, which is a 14. But that I don't think that's significant. But the 3:34:33 is 3, 6, 10, 16. So 1 plus 6 is a 7. Might be significant, might not be, but it had a lot of 3s in there, which is kind of neat. So when I went in the soup kitchen, they had that song playing that I like from Jars of Clay about drowning, about 40 days. If I don't drown after 40 days, it's about the drowning, dying Nephilim. Like in the time of Noah, Noah's flood. So that's what that's about, trying to make you feel bad for these demons. The verse was Psalm 46:10, which adds up to an 11. Be still and know that I am God. Praise the Lord. Good verse. They have lots of food, double servings, pasta, green beans, soup man, fried foods. Soup man looks a little evil to me. There's more than one soup person, so you don't know who I'm talking about. I think I think sometimes they might be like putting some ham in there and lying to me. I don't know, maybe not. But the fried stuff, I didn't find out. Some of this is pork, and they fry it in the same container. So when I stopped going, I think I'm getting healthier. A homeless man. Okay. Oh, Soup Man brought me a coffee. They give me a gift. I get a curse. Soup Man brought me a coffee. He went and got. So I was gonna get it myself. Then he went to the back. And he's like, we were saving, here's our last one, and he brought it to me. And, yeah, I think it also spilled and made a mess. But that was another curse. Then a homeless man, a homeless woman, okay, just comes up to me, or I think, she intentionally comes to me. She gives me napkins and a scarf. I could have got my own scarf. Somebody came in and was giving out free scarves to everybody. So I did not need hers. But anyways, and, there was a man sitting next to me, and he had this homemade scarf, and the scarf had like dinosaurs on it. It was blue. It reminded me of like kindergarten, and it had like T-Rexes on it. I'm like, that's a nice scarf. He's like, they're giving these scarves away. And so then he told somebody, and then there was a homeless woman up there, and so the person with the scarves was on the other side of the soup kitchen. So then he like says something like, oh, she wants one. And so there was a homeless woman up there. She takes hers off and gives it to me just to curse me, because they had a bag full of scarves. There was more left. She's like, oh, it's itchy, I don't want it. I'm like, whatever. They were just doing a bunch of curses on me, really trying to kill me, really trying to get me. But God didn't allow any of it, because they have to try their hardest and fail. That's the point. So I wasn't hungry. I didn't eat. I brought the extras, the leftovers home. It's someone else's suggestions. And I asked someone there to watch my food for me. And this was after the other man came up to me, or yesterday, or the day before, asked, what did you learn? I learned I don't have to lock my bike. So I started taking my bike there, rolling it up onto the rack, not even locking it. Because they all know it's mine. They get cursed, but also there's a tracker in that. So they want me to have that bike. They want me to be tracked. They want to know where I am at all times. They send people to follow me around. And I see the police getting people too. I'm not calling the police. I'm not talking to the police. I placed an anonymous report in a while back. But no, I'm not contacting the police. And I didn't tell him my name either. I just like, oh, listen, I'm an anonymous, I did that. Actually, King Herod suggested that. So thank you, King Herod. But anyways, they send people to try to kill me, and then I see police like zipping past me and around me, and I see people getting arrested. So I'm not talking to the police. I think the police are listening to your cell phones, and I think they're listening to your conversations. Because I'm not talking to them. Anyways, so I left my tray. I left the drinks, probably the free drink. I left it a few times. Someone asked how I'm doing. I said good, like I always do, so I don't curse myself. Don't want to curse myself. He said, wonderful that you're still. He said it's wonderful that you're still alive. He said it in a pleasant voice, but I knew what he meant. He said it's wonderful to still be alive. Like, he was just talking pleasant. I know what he meant, because they kept trying to kill me. And then I said, I'm not allowed to die. And it just, because it was kind of funny. It was a good counter, because he was saying, oh, it's wonderful to still be alive. Like, he was talking about himself, but he was really kind of saying it about me, because they keep trying to kill me. And I said, God won't let me die. Or said, I'm not allowed to die. Anyways, before my time. Bike, okay. Bike unlock, rear tire damage, can't air. God's will. Okay. Okay, I left the bike unlocked. The rear tire was damaged, can't air it up. God's will. Oh, this was the old bike. So, The bike man bike that I was borrowing, actually the cap that you unscrew to air it up was bent, so you could not take it off to air up the tire. And so, yeah, that was God's will too, because there was like a lifespan on this bicycle, and it would need a new tire. The man that came in, who is 71, has hit on me before. He offered me a cough drop. So they're just trying to curse me a bunch. I said, no, thank you. I did not take your cough drop. And so there was somebody there. They were watching me get slammed with curse after curse after curse. I got hit with all these curses. And then there was just, and they all know. They all speak to each other. They all know they're trying to curse me. They're all trying to kill me. They're all trying to make bad things happen. And this day, I took every curse. I'm like, a napkin? Oh, thank you. Oh, a cup of coffee I was going to get myself. I'm right here. Oh, thank you. The scarf, even though the person right next to you has a bag of free scarves. Okay, great. And then there was a man standing by the coffee machine, and he's like this at me, because I was an idiot, because I was taken. I did it all on purpose. I usually try to avoid their curses. This day, I took as many curses. This day, I took as many curses as I could get. Bring them on. Bring them on. Let's see. So I did decline the cough drops. I said no thank you to that, because sometimes I poison stuff. So I think it was the napkin. No, there was someone else sitting on the other side of the table. I didn't even know, never saw before, and they're like, they know everyone in there is trying to curse me. So I guess like they all talk to each other. Okay, I'm going to the next. It's another spam call. It's another spam call again. It's every day, non-stop. They're probably calling you guys too, but rebuke you, reject you, go to hell. Okay, so the man, there was just somebody I never seen before, and they were just sitting towards the end of the table, and they're like, because I kept taking things, and they knew I was getting cursed. So they did this like I was dumb or I made a mistake. There was an old black man in a hood who took my tray. Oh, this is one of the curses. So he was sitting a couple seats down, and I never talked to this man before, but he went to get up and dump his tray and leave. And so he got up, and then he had a bunch of juice on his tray, like tomato sauce and meat juice. And then it was spilling all over the place, and he went, and it almost, and I had my coat there, it almost spilled in my coat. It almost all spilled in my coat. And I moved my chair in, and I grabbed my coat, and I got up. And I'm like, ha ha! He almost dumped a bunch of food on my coat, and this would have been some of those curses. Like, he had a bunch of food liquid, like tomato and meat juice, on his tray. He got up and he was just spilling it, and it was running off like this. And it went right where my coat was. And I scooted my chair in, and I stood up. And I'm like, haha, God saved me. And I did it just like that, like, haha. And the woman behind, I was like, haha. And the woman behind me, she was mad. She had her cell phone. So the woman behind me had her cell phone out. So there was a woman sitting right behind me. She had her cell phone pointed at me. She was recording this. So she was recording all the curses. She was recording the man who was going to spill food all over my coat. And they know I can't wash my clothes. So then he gets up with his tray, and then I jump up, scoop my chair, and grab my coat and move. I'm like, haha, God saved me. And I'm smiling. She gets this on camera. And then she's mad. And she's like, you better clean that up, to the man. She's like, you better clean that up. Now this man had to clean up his mess. He went and got the mop. He had to clean it up. None of it got on my coat. They tried to spill food all over my coat, and then I would just have to wear it. But no. And I jumped up and I scooted it right in, and it just missed it by like an inch. And I'm like, God saved me. And I smiled, like, haha, God saved me. And the woman got this on. She was recording this for the coven, that I was getting cursed, and they spilled food all over my coat, but I missed it. I'm like, haha, and I was happy. I had a big smile, and I'm like, God saved me. And then she was really mad. She was like, go clean that up now, to this man. So he got yelled at and he had to clean up. But she was really mad that he missed. He was really, let's see. An old white man came in, switched to the other side. I told him, okay, so, and I'm not saying this to be racist, because I put this in here because, you know, this was 4 months ago. And now I'm glad I described what people look like, because I would have kind of forgotten. Like, now I know. Okay. So then later, an older man came in. He sat down. I switched to the other side after the older black man almost spilled food on me. So then I switched to the other side. Then I was talking to the older white man. And then the other man was still there. He might have overheard. I think they overheard. And I told this man, everyone was so generous today. I said, everyone was so generous today. So they were trying to curse me. So they got me the last cup of coffee. They got my coffee. They got my napkins. Like, oh, I don't want the scarf. Here, have it, have it, have it. Here, have some cough drops. And then they were trying to curse me. Then I got up. They did not spill their food on my coat because I dodged it. And then I said, the Lord has saved me, or something, like, I don't remember. Like, God saved me. And this is what they recorded for the coven. And I was really happy. And then I sat down. And I moved to the other side because this man had to clean the floor. So I moved to the other side of the table. There was someone else sitting there. And I said, everyone was so generous. Everyone was so generous today. I'm remembering this again. I said, a woman gave up her scarf? I don't know why she didn't want her scarf. It's really cold. It was like negative 20 degrees outside. Why didn't she want her scarf? She probably regretted this later, giving it away. I didn't say that, but she didn't. I don't know why she didn't want it. Thankful for people. Thankful or people stopped giving. Okay, tons of curses left. Okay. Okay, I couldn't read my own writing. Now I understand. This is a phrase. Okay, so then I left. When I was outside by the bike rack before I left, there was a criminal-looking man out there who I never really talked to much. I don't know if I ever talked to him. But then I told him about the serial killer whose name starts with a J, Bike Man. And then I told him, Bike Man popped my tire. So then I have told on the enemy, so they gotta pay now. And then I said, oh, I fixed this, and I got the gear to work, and I fixed the seat load. He's like, you know how to work on bikes? And I said, a little bit, yeah. And I told him this, and they stopped messing with my bike. They stopped messing. Because I figured a few things out. Like, I used zip ties to get the gears to stay on, and I raised the seat, and I tightened it. But, like, this was more difficult, because actually part of the nut was broken off. So I could only tighten it so much, like, because I couldn't bring it all the... It was broken in such a way that without money and buying new parts, this was as good as it could get, but it was good enough. And it looked like now I know how to fix bikes. And actually I do, kind of, because if the chain comes on, you just put it right back on. I didn't know. I thought you had to put the chain on the same gear, and I was confused. Like, what do I do if the chain comes off? How do I know which gear it goes on? No, you just put it anywhere, and then it automatically goes to the right setting. So this is easy. So I told on Bike Man. I told them that Bike Man popped my tires. So then the enemy was caught. I got home. I played with my dogs. I practiced some guitar. I checked my watch. Oh, okay, that's what. Then I checked my watch. Then it was 2:22:17. Then I went to the gym. Then I stopped at this behavioral center that was referred to me by someone else. And I took a pamphlet for Bike Man. For his mental health. And when I got to the gym, there was a woman waiting in the locker room. Okay, so then for dinner, when I went back to the soup kitchen, as I was pulling in, so the man with long blonde hair, who was a narcissist, was there. he knows how to be good. So I'm thinking maybe he'll come around. Maybe he'll repent. This is nuts. Can a narcissist repent? But I've prayed on it. And I hope they can. I think they can. Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyways, he was getting out of his car because he works at the soup kitchen. And then I was pulling in at the same time. And then I told, and he was, I think he said hello, or I said hello, or we both saw each other, and I said, I don't need to lock my bike anymore. And then I was happy, and I went in. So I just told him that. I don't need to lock my bike. Ha ha. Ha ha. So, and then this narcissist also greeted the same homeless woman who gave me the scarf to curse me. Then he stopped, greeted her, and talked to her when he was going in. So then I know that he was behind her giving me the scarf. So the narcissist is the devil sent to tempt and see who will take the bait. And then he was talking to her. So that was a little tell. So in the soup kitchen, there was a Pastor Judy. I don't think she likes me very much, but they were still there helping, giving food to people. I think they have pork. So this church, there is a female pastor, but they're like 10 miles away. So then I asked where they were so I could go to their service. But 10 miles was pretty far on the bike, and it was also wintertime. So maybe if the weather's real nice, I'll make it sometime this summer. But her name is Pastor Judy. If they came, they helped, they served food, but they also bring pork. So I told her, maybe not this day. I told her we're not allowed to eat pork. She don't like. She doesn't like that. But they still were out helping, serving the homeless. So I'm not saying that it's bad. I don't know. Maybe it's all evil motives. But what I see is they still are feeding people. Well, I don't know. So there's a young homeless man. I see the old man. I told him of something about a dog attacked. There was free clothes at one church. Oh, I told him about... Okay, so there's a young homeless man there who seems like a nice guy. And I told him when it's cold, like a 3-dog night, to put dogs around you to stay warm. Because he was really cold and didn't have heat. It wasn't in a good situation. They had some free clothes here. So the people from the church came to serve the food. I think they did have pork, but they brought in some clothes too. And the clothes were only like women's clothes. So when the younger homeless man, no, actually he's not younger. He's in his 30s. I thought he looks like he's young. I guess I look young too, but anyways. And he went and looked, and all the clothes were women's. Like, yeah, no one cares. I take men's stuff. And then he looked, but like all the warm stuff was gone. So it wasn't really warm stuff left, and he was surely really cold. But they gave us free wipes, toothbrushes, toothpaste. The narcissist was a little concerned I was talking to this homeless man. He seems like a nice guy, but he still has already sided. He probably already joined the coven and now is stuck. I think he dated a witch, so a long time ago, and now this is something I learned later. Is I think that he was in a relationship with a witch who has also tried to do horrible things to me, and they argue and don't get along. And she told me they're better off alone. they're not alone. They're better off when they're not together. They're just friends. So they're better off just friends. But anyways, maybe he joined the coven and when they were dating, and now he's in his 30s, and they argue and they can't date anymore. So anyways, I don't know. But he seems like a nice guy. But anyway, no matter what, he is outside in the cold without heat. And I was just giving him some ideas to stay warm. The narcissist looked concerned when I was talking to him. I got a new outfit, which I've already worn. And they had this really delicious cake with icing on it. And I got a few pieces. And I also went back and I got some to take home later. It was really delicious. I saw the man that heads the soup kitchen who has the Paul spirit. He looked concerned. The mama cat, there was a spell on her. There was also a spell, like Pastor Judy was there. She seemed to dislike me. So it could be that the narcissist cast a spell on these people so that they wouldn't like me. This is something that sometimes a narcissist does. So I can tell the day when Mama Cat likes me, and some days she hates me. Not hates me, it doesn't like me. So I think this looks like it's the result of a spell. So if the narcissist is back in the kitchen casting spells on the water, they're drinking it, they're being influenced. I'm not sure. Someone is casting a spell. Then I went home and I had a few warm things that were just freshly washed. I got them in a bag to bring to the homeless man who was going to be, well, I was going to see later. I did go to a meeting that evening. I don't know why. I don't know who this. Oh, I think at the soup kitchen there was a man who looked like. I think this is a soup kitchen because I didn't say where it was. There was a man who was very visibly and noticeably drunk, and he said I was very beautiful. I say these are beer goggles. Beer goggles. But he said I was very beautiful. Well, this native necklace and these native inspired. These are not real. I don't think these are real Native American, but they're inspired, and this is real. So these are beautiful here. I guess I did it the wrong way. Ow. I need to fix. I should start fixing this stuff before I record, because I try to fix it while I record, without looking. So a drunk man said I was very. A drunk man said I was very beautiful, so thank you. I say, he might have said that to everybody. This is something I've noticed. Some of the people that hit on me, then I see, I'm like, no, thank you. And then they turn around and they do the same thing to someone else. So it's like you get a free meal, watch a show, and you know what the payment is. It's basically legalized prostitution in the form of a date, is what. So anyways, Pastor Judy worked at a church called something Temple, and it sounds like it's Southwestern or Aztec or something. So I'm not going to say the name on here. But yeah, there was a 7 p.m. meeting. The narcissist invited me to originally. I didn't go to the first week. I was busy, but then I went the next time. I actually made my own decision, went up to him. I don't know if it was this time. And I asked him, hey, is there a meeting today? Some other people, like in his coven, came and they mentioned something. And they weren't really sure what date or time. So I went up and I asked the narcissist who was serving, and he had told me. Let's see. Now I know we work together. We are both working together on the same team. We are the bait God uses to judge people. Like, I'm the bait, and the narcissist is the tempter. And then the people come and they get instant karma when they take the bait. So then there was a recovery meeting. There was a recovery meeting. Another meeting I went to. Oh, someone in the bathroom at the soup kitchen I had never seen before. And I think I was just washing my hands. And I kind of stopped doing that because sometimes people were on drugs and they were messing in the sink and they didn't know what they were doing. There's one woman that sometimes goes there on drugs and she's in the sink and she's like, oh, and she thinks she's fixing something, but she's not. She's just playing in the sink. So then I just started to use the water dispenser to put a little water on my hand and wipe it off. But this time I went to the bathroom to rinse my hands. And there was a different woman in there. And I think I said like a phrase or something to her, like small talk, like she was in front of me. And she said, she asked me about my accent. I don't think, I guess I have a weird voice. But she asked me about my accent. And she said I sound like I have a country accent. I don't think so. But she said I did, so who knows? Does my voice sound like a country accent? I don't think so. But I said, yeah, my voice doesn't sound like anyone in my family or where I come from. No one else. I just have a unique voice, I guess. I guess my voice comes from heaven. Deja vu meeting. Oh. Okay, so there was a meeting. I went to a meeting that evening. Somebody mentioned 17 years. Somebody mentioned 25 years. 2 plus 5 equals 7. And somebody mentioned 28 years, and I am born in 1982. So when I see 28, this is a sign how God speaks to me. 17s, sometimes 7. 17s, and if I see 82 or 28, that's a sign, because my birth year was 82. If I add up the date of my mother's birthday, it equals a 6. Of course, someone from the group mentioned, they can play bass guitar. I think this was another setup where they try to disappoint me. because they act like they want to and then they ghost. So I think this was an attack. Yeah, that's what happened on the 22nd. And then I've got two things here for the 23rd. 23rd. So I'm going to be really cool for this Native American event. That would be so cool if they sent people to my small town to see me. Because there is a prophecy about like some female. I gotta look this up. Like a woman coming, like, or something. So maybe it's me. I don't know. Because like they're all trying to kill me. Maybe it is. Okay, so anyways, and I do have some Native American. My mom's side family is Native, so maybe they are coming from out of state to my small town because I'm here. Could be. I mean, anyways, let's just do the 23rd real quick. So I've got two different. I'll just do both of these. So 23rd. So the 23rd was Friday. So the person that runs the soup kitchen who has the Paul spirit, he mentioned something about his history and something about his story, and he said God called him, and it was a mission from the Lord to come to the soup kitchen, and I think he had been there for 3 years. And also, this is when, like, he got a message from the Lord to start serving dinner. And at that time, so this is 3 years ago. They never had free dinner until 3 years ago. The first time I went to the soup kitchen was to get a free dinner. And so this man with the Paul spirit paved the way for me to have a place to go and interact with these sinners and eat with these sinners. So we can thank him for that. He has done good, and he has provided a place for the homeless and the addicts to have food, so they're not out there dying. And that's a good thing. And God wants to save them. God's not done with them yet. So this is a good thing. It's this man running the soup kitchen. Even though he's kind of an enemy, he actually has done good. And I think God showed me he is a good man that has done a bad thing. But he's a good man that has done a bad thing. And because of him, they now serve dinner 5 days a week at this soup kitchen. They got underwear and socks and things there too. But you don't want to ask too much. You don't want to ask more than you need. So that's why I can't get my stuff washed. And God has like had me staying away from there for now after Easter. But yeah, this man who runs the soup kitchen, he said he was called by God to work here. And then he was told by God to start serving dinner, and like they didn't have the money just to start doing it. And as soon as he started serving it, like the stuff they needed, the food came in, the supplies came in, people came and put in an extra refrigerator and things. So the donations came when he needed it, and that's how the Lord provided. So he started serving this since 2020. So then he actually told me the information that I need. He says to do what God says, and God will provide. So he said that he didn't know how he was going to do it. But God told him to start serving dinner, so he started to do it, even though he didn't have the means. And he also covered like how Jonah prayed inside the whale. So then I think I stopped and I told him about pork, and we're not allowed to eat pork. So I mentioned something like the soup kitchen should stop serving pork or something. I just politely mentioned something, we're not allowed to eat pork. And then he started to go off on the epistles of Paul a little bit. And I said, and this is from the Lord. So I told him what I told him was, this is from the Lord. And I just said it calm and I said it nice. I said, and we're not allowed to eat pork. And then he started to talk about the epistles of Paul and we're allowed to eat whatever. And I said, this is from the Lord. And he was like that. And then I also used the same message. So the whole time I've been going to the soup kitchen, I did not tell the man running it about pork yet. I have told other people that come and donate food. I told certain people about pork, but not the manager. This day, he talked about God calling him to this position, God telling him to serve dinner, and providing the food as soon as they started doing it. And how God provides when he steps out. He didn't have the means to do it, but when he started being obedient and following what God said, then God provided. And so then when I went in that evening on my way out, and I told the man running this, we're not allowed to eat pork. And then he said, we're allowed because this and that, and because of this vision. And I said, this is from the Lord. And then I said, I don't remember what I said, but I basically, what he said in his sermon earlier, I said, when you're obedient, God makes a way. Or I think I said something like, you put that step forward and God provides. I don't remember. This was 5 months ago, but I said, you put that first foot forward and God provides. I said something that he said in his sermon earlier. So this was the day. This was the day, and I heard that message, and then also Pastor Judy served pork, and I told her, and it's like, then I told him, I just politely mentioned it. I said, we're not allowed to eat pork. God has me tell people not to eat pork. This is one of my missions, is we're not allowed to. And God has shown me the spirits dripping off, dirty, filthy, lazy, greedy, disgusting spirits influencing people after they eat this food. If you want to see what it looks like, pray to God and ask God to see the spirits. You can see pork spirits on people. It makes them overweight, kind of greasy, kind of lazy, kind of dirty. They're not good spirits. Look at the behaviors of pigs. So anyways, somebody in the line, I think, signaled danger to me. So a woman from, this day, so the church where they had the washing machine, where they got that hit on me on the washing, they said, we got a washing machine just for people. We just got it in. I didn't know they just got it in until I went there, because they didn't tell me they just got it. They said, we got a washing machine for people like you. They invited me. And then when I got there, like, we just got this. I don't know how it works. I'm like, so they just got it, but I was invited. So this was brought in for me as a trap. But anyways, this church teaches epistles of Paul, and they teach the lies. They word curse people that were sinners, and that the blood sacrifice of Christ gets us to heaven. So anyways, a woman from this church was serving at the soup kitchen this day, and she looked a little evil. She was serving. And I think that she might, and I don't know, I have no idea, just a suspicion that she might have tried to poison my food. Because she was an enemy preaching, somebody said Babylonian mystery religion, maybe. But blood sacrifice is not of God. God is fair. One person cannot wipe out the sins for someone else. This is false doctrine, and Jesus never says this. Never. But this was the teachings of the pagans. This was what Odin, Thor, the fallen angels taught this. The pagans believed this. So a woman from this Pauline church that teaches the lies of the Pharisees. There's all different Pharisees. They had dessert. So she was serving that day. They had desserts in containers. And so when I went up, there was 2 sitting there, and I could pick either flavor. They were right there waiting for me. So I got one. So they saw me coming. They sat the desserts right there. And I took one. So they were probably both poisoned. So anyways, a woman had tried to curse me a couple days before. She even volunteered at the soup kitchen. So she volunteered at the soup kitchen and gave me extra fruit, I think, to curse me. And then a man was supposed to curse me, and he didn't want to. He kind of tried, but then we just talked a little, and he didn't. He didn't curse me. And she was mad. She's like, what? She was mad that he didn't attack me because he didn't want to. So this day, she was going to take the extra fruit back. She went up as soon as I got my dessert. Then she touched my dessert. I'm like, okay. And then I continued down the line, and when I'm at the last person, she comes up and she takes my dessert. She takes my dessert. She was taking it back because she gave me extra fruit as a curse. The man sent to curse me didn't curse me. He just talked to me for a minute and left. And she's like, what? What? You didn't curse her. You didn't do anything. So she was mad, and she stole my dessert. She took my dessert, and then she left with it, and she went like this, and she flipped me off, too. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I was still at the end, and I'm like, can I have another dessert? Someone just stole my dessert. And then they went down, they got a new dessert, and they gave it to me. I'm like, thank you. And then I did get the vanilla, I think it was like a stuffed donut with icing. And they had vanilla and chocolate, and I'm not really a big chocolate fan. But, most of the time chocolate's not great, but sometimes it's really good. So I think it depends on whether it's real chocolate or it's just flavored. So then I was all the way at the end, but I was still in the line. And I'm like, someone just stole my dessert. I said, could I have another dessert? Someone just stole my dessert. And they were watching and they did see someone steal my desserts. They went and got another and gave it to me. I'm like, oh, thank you. And then as I was leaving, this woman flips me off that took my dessert. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. Because she tried to curse me. She had to work. She volunteered and worked in the soup kitchen one day just to curse me. So I'm okay. And I also got my dessert. I was signaled by some people in there of danger, and by that, if somebody looks upset and they're looking at me like so I just know is there are killers in here. They're not allowed to tell me, but God allows me to see and discern things in the spirit. Maybe not all the time, I don't know, but sometimes. So I prayed, blessed the food, sat down. Okay. Then I sat by a man who he seems like a good man, actually, but, he'd been in some trouble. I don't know if he was an alcoholic or something, but he seems like a good man, actually. And the coven sends him to, I don't know, to try to get information, or they send a lot of counterfeits. And I think they sent him to maybe be a counterfeit, but he just sat there and did not say anything, nothing. So that's a good deed. He didn't do anything. Good. But he seemed like trembling a little, like he was nervous because I have the Holy Spirit, and sometimes people can discern this. But he seemed like a good man. Anyways, and he mentioned something, so I was just talking to him because the soup kitchen was pretty full, and he was sitting towards the end, and there was an empty seat across from him, and then there was probably the hired killer right next to me. So they had a seat open right on the end waiting for me. There was the man sitting there, empty seat, and then the killer here, who I believe is probably a member of the Black Gang, was sitting there. This is the coolest. This is so cool. Praise God. This is so cool. Like, I say, my living situation is not great. It's not. I have a lot of problems, but victories like this are fun, and I'm going to enjoy them. So anyways, I sit across from this man, and I talk to him a little bit, because he's been to some other meetings I've been to. And he also stays nearby and has been to the soup kitchen. He seems like he's a good guy. But, anyways, he has sent, he at least knows the other witches and warlocks, and they talk to each other. So maybe he'd at least just overheard him say things. And I was talking to him, I said, well, some woman, and somebody signaled at me and looked at me, that the man sitting next, they're like, danger, like this. They're like that. And they looked at the man next to me. They had a look like this. So I knew right away. They didn't tell me to get up. They didn't tell me to leave. But somebody was further back, turned around and looked at me, and they're like danger. The man next to you is a killer. And I already know, because they keep sending people to kill me. So this was a trap. The man was sitting here, so I sat here, and right next to my seat was the killer, the man set to kill me. So the woman from the Pauline church was there, and this is what I think happened. She poisoned that dessert, had it waiting for me, gave me the poisoned dessert. This woman comes up, steals my dessert. The devil tells her to steal my dessert, and allows her to steal my dessert, which was poisoned by the people from the church. And so then I sit down, there's another killer sitting next to me. Maybe he has a knife, maybe he has poison. They tend to have both, and some of them even just have some powder that they can blow, and then you're out. Like, anyways, so then I sit down and I'm telling this man, there was a woman here, she just stole my dessert. I don't know if I even told her, I don't think I even told him that she flipped me off. I said, somebody stole my dessert today. And he said, well, somebody's protecting. And I said, then I said, well, and I said, this isn't I said something like, this isn't a good idea, because, and God's going to get, I said, because people get karma as soon as they do something to me. When people bless me, they get blessings. When people curse me, they get cursed. I said, that this isn't a good idea. And I said, because God protects me. God renders judgment on people when they do stuff to me. And then this man sitting across from me is like, well, something is protecting you. He said, something is protecting you. And he's talking nice, but he's kind of trembling. So I think he can see my light, because it makes him nervous. He said, well, something is protecting you. I said, it's God. And then all of a sudden, so we're sitting next to the aisle. Then all of a sudden, this is the absolute truth. How cool is this? all of a sudden, down the aisle comes a stretcher, and then there's an ambulance outside. This is only like 2 or 3 minutes. This is only 2 or 3 minutes after this woman steals my dessert and flips me off. So then a stretcher comes right next to us, goes down the aisle. And then the man's across me. I'm like, and right after I tell him, a woman stole my dessert. And then the stretcher was, oh my God. I said, that's the woman that stole my dessert. She was on the stretcher and an ambulance was outside. So that's how I know. The church came and brought a poisoned dessert. She stole my dessert. She started eating it and got poisoned. And then they had to call the ambulance. They called 911. And then, so this is what happened. So anyways, when the man was looking at me like, danger, there's a killer next to you. That's what his eyes were. His eyes were like screaming, there is a killer next to you. Okay. And then I'm like, okay. And I'm like, it'll be okay. Was kind of the way I looked. Okay. And so then I tell the man across from me, I tell him, and I said, because God renders judgment as soon as somebody does something to me. And he said, well, something's protecting you. And right after that, the stretcher comes down right next to us. The stretcher comes down. And I said, that's the woman that cursed me. And then the man sitting next to me, who was, I believe, a member of the black gang, then you know what he does? He gets up and he runs away. He gets up and he runs away. I said, that's the woman on the stretcher. That's the one that stole my dessert. And then he was sitting next to me, just heard me say to this man, God protects me. They're going to get instant karma. And then the stretcher comes down. And I'm like, that's the woman that stole my dessert. And so, of course, this is influencing the man across from me, who probably had, I don't know, maybe he joined the coven or he's hanging out with Satanists. But he doesn't want to hurt people. So he's doing things they tell him to that don't hurt me. Or he's talking to me, or they're talking to him, and he's getting information. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. He had made bad decisions in his past. But it looks like beneath that he's a good person. I don't know. But anyways, there is a killer sitting next to me. And when I say, that's the woman that stole my dessert, he immediately jumps up and runs away. This is the most awesome thing. This is so cool. Then I headed home. Now remember, this is January. There's a lot of snow. It's been very cold. And then, of course, there's cops on the way home. There's cops right around. So like a block after I leave the soup kitchen, there's police there. So they have more than this killer. So they brought in the woman from the church that is Epistles of Pauline Church, was serving a poisoned dessert. I believe it was a stuffed iced donut. It looked really good. And actually, when they gave me a substitute one, it was chocolate. So the first time I got vanilla, and then the one they gave me as a replacement was a chocolate. But actually I started eating it like, this is a really good chocolate donut. I think I like this chocolate one more. Because it was a good one. It wasn't like that artificial flavor. So anyways, see. So they had the woman from the church to poison me. They had a killer next to me. And then they had people outside. And I know because they were right around the soup kitchen when I was leaving. And the police were getting them. Okay, so then the homeless man. Oh, I had given the homeless man some warm clothes for my house. Then he came in after this. So after the killer ran away, after the woman that stole my dessert was taken to the hospital, then the homeless man I'd given a jacket to came up to me and he smiled and he thanked me for the warm clothes because I gave him some gloves and a fuzzy jacket like this. He was really happy. I could tell he appreciated it. And also the man sitting across from me, he said, well, something is protecting you. And I said, God. And I will say, I have seen him at the church. He went up, he stood, he has repented, he is attending church. I think he's joined the kingdom. He has swapped sides. And maybe this is part of the reason. Because when he said, and something is protecting you, I said God. And God showed proof right in front of his eyes. Because he knew people were trying to kill me. I don't think he ever attacked me. But they tried to use him kind of as a pawn. Anyways, something I put like Timu on here, post office. Oh, there was a 3 o'clock meeting I was late for. What else is going on here? Oh, I went to the post office, and there's a lesbian that works there. I'm not gonna dislike anybody, but normally she was really helpful and a good employee. But this day when I went in, she looked like she didn't like me. And as soon as I got into line, she left. And then there was only one person there, and it took forever. And it's like, this was an attack of the enemy. So she was working. Then I'm in line, and I'm next. She sees me, and I can tell the look in her eyes. She doesn't like me. And then she leaves. And then I have to wait for a long time. So I put that she left her job. She left her post, her station. So like her cashier desk area. She left her station when I was there. And then I had to wait a long time. So that, of course, I write this down. And then someone else that would not like this saw it later. It's all... and attacked, because then they were like, oh, let me write down the directions, and then it was right below this. So then I went to a meeting, and someone was like, well, let me write down where this is. And then I wrote here, lesbian woman left the post office when I came in. So this makes me look like I don't like... No, I wrote that so I would know who it is. Like, so I can remember. It is now 5 months later, and now I'm remembering this. Is I was nice to that woman, and she did a great job, but this day... Then she gave me kind of a look like she didn't like me, and then she left. So I would have been going straight to her line. It was free. So I walked in to the post office, and she was there. The person that was before me just left. She saw me, and instead of helping me, she left. And there was a look on her face like she didn't like me. So I wrote that down. So there was a 3:00 meeting. They had coffee. They were complimenting a name that I picked out. They had a picture of an animal that I would recognize that was significant to me. This time there was a 17-year-old shot people were talking about. So the number 17 came up. The serial killer was brought into the center. So the serial killer they knew I was going to the center this day. I think I was invited there. So the serial killer was sitting in the lobby on the couch watching the TV. And then I went and I just sat next to him. And then I sat next to him and I said, I have something for you. And so I got out my pamphlet. So I stopped at this behavioral center. So for people with behavioral problems. I stopped there and I got a pamphlet. And I said, I sat down next to him on the couch. And I said, I have something for you. And I get in my bag and I pull out the pamphlet. And he says, oh, I go there. And then he told me. He said, yeah, I go there, but the medications make me dumb. He says, I'm not very smart when I'm on the medication. So I put some things together about the serial killer. So he was kind of like, he wasn't surprised, but he was sitting there, and he was the look on his face, he wasn't startled, he wasn't like afraid, he was sitting there, but he was kind of like in disbelief that I just walked right up. So I was behind him, getting water or something. I see him sitting there, and I just go up and I sit down next to him. And when he's trying to hunt me and scare me, I just sit down right next to him, and I said, I have something for you. I give him the pamphlet, and he tells him the medications. And someone else just mentioned to me is that a problem with a lot of schizophrenics is when they go off their medication. They go off their medication. And he said, and I didn't tell him anything about this. The person that referred me to this center mentioned this. And then I told him about the center, and he said, the medications make me dumb. He didn't want to go on this medicine. So then later he told me he had written on his backpack, Azrael, Azrael is his angel. He told me he works for Jesus, and he was told by Azrael that he works for Jesus. He's the bad guy of the good guys, like the dark side of the good guys. And he was told that he's like the Grim Reaper, but he's doing the work of God. So he was told this, and then later I told him it's a fallen angel. But anyways, apparently this fallen angel makes him more intelligent and lets him, like, he gets messages and hears things spiritually. And so kind of like a chosen one, abilities that God gives us. So anyways, I'm sitting down next to the serial killer, And then after, and I tried to give him the pamphlet, and he says, "Oh, I go there." But then he told me his problem is he doesn't take his medication because he gets dumb when he's on this medication. And then I looked at, and I was already looking at him and listening, and I said, "It's not too late to repent, no matter what you've done." And then I told him about lunch. So there was some free lunch somewhere, and then I told him about the lunch. And then he mentioned something else to me before he left. So then he told me, he said, the same entities that talk to me talk to you. He said, you're like me. They use telepathy. The same entities that talk to me talk to you. And then I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. And he said, and like how people, like you hear messages through people talking or things like, that's true. Yes, I do hear messages through people talking. But his demons told him that the same entities that talk to him are talking to me, and that we're the same. but but before then, I told him, I said, it's not too late to repent, no matter what you've done. Then I get up off the couch, and I walk. I walk outside, not freaking out, not running away, just calm, like God will not let me be killed. And this is really teaching me, like, it's stretching my faith. At first, there's people coming to kill me. They've hired giants to come and kill me. No, like, I was concerned at first, but then I see, like, God's not going to let anything happen. And so, actually, God put me here to minister to this man. You know, somebody else later told me, like, some bad stuff, like, he was taken to a mental hospital, and some bad stuff had happened to him there. And so someone else said, and this is a person that sides with the enemy and is an enemy. They're kind of like Ahab in that regard, where they kind of like they lie, but they know they can do some good things. Like, I think they're a liar scammer, but anyways, you know, they did mention some things to me, and I think this is true. Truth comes from even the liars. And he said he went to he was at a mental hospital, and they did some bad stuff to him there. Like, some bad stuff happened to him. And like, they're justifying why he's a serial killer. And then I can kind of understand, like, he's in this mental hospital. Who knows? God, maybe they abused him or something. And then this demon, this fallen angel or whatever, is, you know, you can get out, and I'm giving you these special abilities, and you become magic. You're like a superhero now, and I don't know. But I got the pieces to put together how a serial killer is made and how they work. So anyways, that was pretty cool. So apparently it was going to be so cold that they were setting up a center for people so they didn't freeze to death outside. There was this church, and a couple miles down, there was a place they had set up with heat and mattresses for people to sleep. And actually, I biked down there, even though I have a home, and my heat still was kind of working at this point. My heat was still working at this point. Now it doesn't. But anyways, then I went down there. And so I biked down to the center just to check it out, and I saw the serial killer walking there on my way. I walked down to where it was just a place to sleep with heat, because it was going to be like 0 degrees or something. And then I went in, and I asked if we could pray, and I said a power of 3, if we could, because there was 2 people in there. And they said, oh, we'll do a prayer later, like when people got here. And I said, well, we're here, like, if we could pray over it. Actually, when I'm outside and I stopped by and I saw someone going in, and I said, actually, I just came by to pray. And they're like, oh, that's good, we need prayer. And I go in, there's 2 people in there, and they're like, you know, they didn't like seem really interested in praying, but they seemed like they were there to help. And they said, well, why don't you pray? And so then I prayed for the group, prayed a prayer over that, and I think I prayed if anyone can repent, that they would repent, and, you know, that it be peaceful. I don't remember what all I prayed, but I prayed because I knew that there was going to be a lot of disbelievers, a lot of homeless people, addicts, people from the soup kitchen were going here to stay the night in the heat. They had this set up. So before they got there, I biked down there, and I was going to pray over it, that people can repent, and I had them. And so I was going to ask for them to pray, but they said, well, why don't you do it? And so I did. And I did kind of target that towards some people I thought were going to be there, because they were sending a bus to the soup kitchen to bring people. Let's see. I guess, what the heck is going on? I can't understand. I can't understand my own notes. Okay, so there was a meeting, an anonymous meeting that night. They had cold chicken and coffee. It was a party many years clean. Somebody had gone without using for many years. It was a great party. There was cake. The address had sixes in it. There was something else did. Oh, I was invited to another meeting at noon on Saturday. I was invited to a meeting, so I would have to go. Of course, in case I forget to add this later, someone there, this was one of the curses. I got cursed. Someone invited me to a meeting on Saturday at noon. So even though it was like negative 17 degrees outside, and it took me 15 minutes to bike, and I double gloved. I made double gloves out of the scarf the woman gave me to curse me. I cut the scarf open and put it over my gloves. It was so cold. My hands were hurting. I think I damaged them. So anyways, then I got to this meeting. They had chicken, and then I was about to grab a piece, and they're like, use that hand sanitizer. Great. I used a hand sanitizer. Then my chicken tasted like hand sanitizer. And so, like, I show up, like, people have already started talking and stuff. I'm not saying anything personal here. So then it was supposed to be awkward. They're trying to make me uncomfortable because this area had a lot of gang members there. And well, not a lot. There were some gang members there, and there were people that would intimidate, and I know that others had left because they were intimidated. But God just sends me here to go in and I think to minister to people, to show that they're important. But the spirits in them want to scare away people that have the Holy Spirit. But anyways, people talking tough, people talking straight on either side, and I sit down, and there's a woman sitting next to me. I'm not saying anything, what her name, I'm not saying about her story, she didn't really say. But this woman was my mother Jezebel in a different body, and this is when she cursed me. She cursed me even more. She came to say hello. I was going to a meeting. I was not answering her calls. I was not answering her texts. So she showed up at this meeting, this anonymous meeting, sat down next to me in somebody else's body. And even though she was a different skin tone, this was my mother. This was my mother. As she was still shaking and acting the same way and doing the same stuff. This was my mother. And she cursed me there. So she couldn't get through me. So they actually, maybe this had to, I didn't even realize, all those curses they did to me the day before might have been enough to get her soul, the Jezebel spirit, into a different body at this meeting I was invited to, because none of the other stuff worked. She was at this meeting. The narcissist was also at this meeting. The narcissist was at this meeting, I am saying, because he was there as a mission to get me. I'm not saying anything about his life. They are sent to get me. So when I'm invited to something, so I think he invited me. He told me about this meeting and was there. I showed up right on time, but people were already talking. So he was sitting over here. And he invited me to this where there was going to be some gang members, and one of them I saw was evil and was wanting to kill me. So he invited me to this and was going to watch me cower in fear and run away. But instead, I just got a piece of chicken and whatever, and then I just sat there calmly and I didn't care. Because enough of you guys try to kill me that it doesn't even bother me anymore. It doesn't, but they're afraid of me. They're afraid of me because God defends me. It's not that, it doesn't matter how many weights I lift. It doesn't matter how smart I am. That has absolutely nothing. I could be in a wheelchair and I could have an IQ of 65. God is going to defend me and God is going to render judgment. So I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is have courage. And now I definitely do, because they keep sending all these killers. Killer after killer after killer, and then they all get their judgment. It's like God is using me as bait to catch all the killers and clean up my town. Anyways, so I showed up at this meeting. There was a lot of people talking tough, trying to be aggressive, trying to be intimidating. This is the spirits in them, but they also put it up as a mask to protect and defend themselves. If they're out on the streets and they don't want to be victimized, or they already have been victimized, and they do this so they're not an easy target, and to protect themselves, they build these walls. But anyways, I show up, and then the narcissist is observing, and they see I don't care, and then my mother is sitting next to me in a different body. This is my mother. I know it's her. And she's shaky. And she's like, oh, you go get some chicken. Go get some chicken. This is my I know who this. And the way she's kind of looking mischievous. And she's kind of smiling at. This is my mother. As I didn't answer her calls, they did about 50 curses on me. She shows up at this meeting. I'm like, okay. So I stand up in front of all the... There's a lot of people there because it's a party. All the people are there. I just stand up and I walk like while they're talking. She's like, go get some chicken. They're trying to make me uncomfortable. This was super awkward. This was very awkward. So then I just walk down the middle while people are talking and I go get a chicken. And I get the hand sign. Okay, then I sit down. And then there's a big circle of people. And while they're talking, then and my mother is like, you know, she made me go get the chicken while it was people were talking and no one else was eating. So then I like sit there and I start eating the chicken. I'm eating the chicken. You can hear me chewing. You can hear me eating. No one else is eating. It's awkward, but whatever. I just ate it anyways, and I had my hat on. Because people know me by my hat now. People know. And so I'm eating the chicken. You hear me eating the chicken like a pin could drop. And then there's people talking about their stories. And there's a bunch of people that were in the black gang there too, I'm sure. But one of them, though, I could tell, wanted to get me. I'm saying one. And then there was my mother. my mother was there. My Jezebel mother was there. Let's see. What? So much happens. Okay, so then they also had cake, and then like towards like halfway through or something, I think this is so long ago, I can't remember. They were cutting. They had a big giant cake for this party for how many years clean, and they were passing out cakes. They were passing the cakes out in a row. So they were giving the cakes out. So there was 2 people cutting the cakes, and then they were coming and giving someone a cake, then going back and getting another piece, then giving it to someone else. And of course, they get to my mother, Jezebel, first. Now, I don't know what the name of this human is, but the spirit inside of that body is Jezebel. As I recognize and I know this spirit. I know it very well. It's like, use all the napkins, take all the ketchups at the fast food place, like whatever, leave stuff a mess for someone else to clean. I know this spirit. Anyways, so she gets her cake, and I'm sitting right next to her. She gets her cake first, and then she's like, oh, here, and she gives me the cake, and I know this is a curse. She's like, here, take it. I'll get the next one. She's like, she didn't say but the thought was, she'll get the next one. She's like, oh, here. She gives me the cake. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I take it. Like, I kind of had to take it. But it's like, okay, let's see what happens now. I'm like, okay. And then she thought, so they were going to come right back. And I was supposed to get the next cake. But instead, she gives me the cake. And then they, like, go to other people. And they skip her. And then she's starting to get worried, like right away. She thought they were going to be there in 5 seconds with her piece of cake. So they were going in order, giving everyone a piece of cake. And she was right next to me. She got hers and she's like, here, take it. and then she's like waiting. And then they didn't come to give her a piece of cake. And they were giving it to other people. And then she started to get worried. She's like, oh, here. And then maybe after 30 seconds or so, then they bring her a cake. She was getting concerned, like, wait, where's my cake? She's like, oh, here, give me a cake. I gave her mine. Give me a cake. This is Jezebel. She did this to curse me. And then I also saw there was a very large man, 6.5, no, maybe 7 foot tall or so, big man there, and he gave me a look like he wanted to kill me. But also, and then she gave me the cake. Then he looked at me again, and his eyes looked at my eyes, and then he looked away. I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks, mom. Anyways, so nothing happened though. Something did happen, but it was not successful. So, talked to some people, and when I was leaving, I was on my bicycle. It was dark, and as I'm leaving, then a car lunges at me. So as I'm biking past, there is a person in a car waiting, and they lunge. So they're stopped in the parking spot, and as I go past, they lunge their car at me, and then I kind of just go like around the next car in the parking lot, and so then they stopped. So there was two things. They probably did not really want to kill me, and number two, actually, I just kind of went around and went next to another vehicle, so they couldn't have. So maybe this is it, because they lunged at me, but then I turned and I went between some cars, so they could not get me. And they probably did not want to go through all this legal hassle. Anyways. But this is what I believe the cake curse was. And then somebody lunged at me when I was leaving. They lunged their vehicle at me. But there was another car, like the parking lot of the hospital was pretty full. So then I just went between. So, like, if there's a car here, and then they're here, then they lunge at me, but then I go between these two cars. So I think that's it. They couldn't get me. Yeah. So a space, this was a while back, I'm trying to remember. Space here, car parked here, and then they're here, and then I'm going this way, and then they'd start to lunge at me, and then I just weave between these cars, and they can't get me. So that was, thank you, Lord, that was pretty cool. Like, this is one day of my life. How awesome is that? One day of my life. Well, I think there's more. There's more. I can't cover too much. This is also the 23rd. I'll save that. This is a 20. Okay, someone sprayed skunk spray on my dog. That's older. Skunk spray sprayed on my dogs. There is a man at the soup kitchen that I talked to the first time one day, and this is, I don't know what day, I just wrote this down. Someone sprayed skunk spray, and of course, it went on my large dog that runs away. The hose doesn't work, I can't clean him. He's also very large, and will run away. He's afraid of everything. It got on his collar, I can't even, the clasp is seized, I can't even get that off. This is, God had me go through this, God had me suffer. But anyways, then I got to speak to somebody that was in the soup kitchen I hadn't before, and his name meant High Guardian. And I know his name meant High Guardian because I was with the devil a long time, and his middle name, so his first name was Red, that was the English meaning, his middle name is High Guardian. So when this man introduced me, his name was High Guardian, but without the red, and I kind of had a thought, like, maybe this is a good angel there. And then I mentioned just some quick stuff like people trying to kill me, and I said, but I see the police get him. So, maybe the police already know that maybe the police already know this is going on. And he had to look like, yeah, maybe. So maybe he already knew, yeah. Because I just mentioned stuff like, oh, there's people doing stuff trying to kill me when I'm talking to this man. And I said, but the police keep getting him. So maybe and I'm not calling the police, I'm not talking to the police. So maybe the police already know what's going on. And he's like, he had to look like, yeah, you're probably right. So, this 23rd, I went to the 7th Street Church. Okay, I went to a different soup kitchen. For lunch. There was a car waiting, watching me. Okay, they oiled the tracks. And then, yeah, there was a car sitting there watching. They oiled the tracks, and I also had a bunch of my shower stuff on my bike, so that my bike, like, right where the train tracks are, I have to cross to get to the soup kitchen. They put something, like, on the tracks where it froze, or there was oil on it. They oiled it, or they froze, because it was so cold, but it was really slippery there. And then there was someone in a car spying, because they got out. They were sitting there doing nothing. This is not a parking spot. They were sitting right next to the railroad tracks watching me. This is so much, I should make another video. I made that video. I fell and flipped on my face, and I like launched. I like this is a catapult. Like my bike went into the rut, and then it launched me forward. I flipped onto my face, then flipped over again. And then a person was in the car. They get out. I'm like, are you okay? And then I get up and I'm like, yeah. I didn't know what I looked like, but I thought I better. Is this still here? It was. I had a bloody lip and I had a scrape here. But no, that should have been like face gone. No. And this was because last time they cursed me to have a bike accident, then I actually stopped to blow my nose and then fell over onto soft grass. So this time God flipped me onto my face as hard as could be, and I walked away from that. And then I was fine a week later. So you guys can watch a video. This is a day, the 20th, or this is the second. Oh no, this is the wrong, this is the 2/23. This is not January. This is, okay, this is way later. This is way later. So this is the wrong day. I'm going to end this video here. And I will restart. So while all this is going on, this is while my mom has cursed me. She cursed me about shoveling snow. She cursed me about it being too cold to bike. She cursed me about the soup kitchen being closed. So you can go watch the video in my house. I took that on my old vintage. I have a vintage like Nikon camera that I took pictures from my store, like my product photos, but it can also record videos. So I had this for like 10 years. And I still have it. It still works. The memory cards got fried when I tried to collect evidence for a court case. So God said, no, you're not allowed to sue. Because when I tried to get evidence, then $70 worth of memory cards were fried. But anyways, then I ordered new ones. And so I'm allowed to record videos, but I was recording evidence with the intent of going to a lawyer, and then God blocked that. So anyways, they fried my cards. Yeah, so my mom cursed me. Later, my heat did go out, actually. My heat did, but at this point, it was still working. But then it started to, like, not work very well, and then it was in the 50s in my house. So it was, like, 45 degrees in my house. So, it was 17 degrees outside, but only 45 degrees in my house. Before it was 75 in my house when I turned the heat up. And I could have turned it up more, but I didn't because I wanted to save money. So, yeah. Okay. I will just tell you guys this real quick. So remember that I was cursed a bunch. And that my mom showed up at this meeting. And then another man at this meeting invited me to another event the next day at noon. And keep in mind, it is so cold that schools are closed, the soup kitchen is closed, and if you're outside for 15 minutes, there's a frostbite warning. So, there was also supposed to be an 8 o'clock meeting. I was invited to a meeting at 8 o'clock. It was like negative 17 degrees outside or something. I'm trying to remember this. It was so cold that the scarf... So the woman that cursed me by giving me the scarf, it was too cold with 2 pairs of gloves. I put a thin pair on, and then I put a warmer pair over. This was still too cold to bike. So then I took this scarf. It was like that fleece material, and it was like stitched together. So I cut it in half, and I slid it over top of my gloves. And now I could bike, but it was still too cold, but it was manageable. So then I get up, like, it's like, stay in your house. You can die if you go outside. They invite me to this meeting, so I bike to the church. This is the same church where they had the washing machine trap. I bike to the church, and no one is there, and the meeting is canceled. So I basically and I couldn't even go inside because it's closed. So I had to bike a half hour, and they say you can get frostbite in 15 minutes. Or actually, I think this is when I hurt my hands a little bit. So anyways, then I was at this church, the Pauline Church, where this is the same church that served me the poisoned donut, and I biked around the church. I canceled demonic assignments. This is just a prayer. You can pray this too. I canceled demonic assignments at this church, and I prayed to burn altars, demonic altars, and I prayed to guard this church with heavenly angels and to reclaim this church for God. There was trucks on the road. I went home, so there was trucks in the road, kind of weird. It looked like they were spying on me. So then I went home and I went around and I went a different way back. And I stayed home and I took a nap. What I did that day, it was so cold in my house, so my mom cursed me. My heat was still working, but not only halfway. So I actually think my furnace froze. Now it doesn't work at all. But it was so cold, it was getting my house up to like a refrigerator instead of a freezer. But then I slept, I played guitar, I slept. Then I was, actually the Mormon church It was so cold. Church was canceled. There are like 200 churches in this town. It was so cold that church was canceled. But the Mormon church invited me. They had a Zoom church. It was on the internet. I clicked the link and I watched the services on my computer. And of course, they knew I was watching, so they only showed me the stuff that I would agree with. I'm like, your doctrine is great. I'm not going to go search and find out what the lies are. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to experience this for myself. And I saw them right away. Like, why did you invite me right after you covered the New Testament? And now you're covering, so right after they covered the New Testament, we're just starting the Old Testament. Now you invite me. And they said, oh, and we got this temple stuff, but you're not really telling me anything about it. And they summarize it in a way that sounds good. But they don't tell you. They don't tell you what, because they know what they're doing wrong. They were hiding it from me deliberately. And I noticed this right away. I noticed it right away. And they mentioned doing work for your ancestors. You can't. Those are devils hopelessly, like, trying to do anything they can to be saved from hell. But all they had to do was change their lives around. But they wouldn't do it. All they had to do was to be kind to others and loving and not do things for selfish or evil reasons, but they couldn't do it. Anyways, there was a Zoom church, and that was good. It was kind of neat, like when you look at the names for the church, like, and I joined the meeting, and then my name shows up at the top. But I think it showed up that way for everybody, and it was just kind of neat, like my initials being JB hit at the top, and it was kind of cool. And then they know my name is Bishop, and so the bishop there tried to get me right away. But he wasn't. He actually seems like a nice guy. That's the thing. He's not that bad, but they're not following the Old Testament. They're not following the Mosaic law. They're not following God's law. They say to follow the law, but then, like, it's like the law is to not drink coffee and tea but eat pork. So they don't know. So I told them, and then they actually were wanting to get me baptized for a while. They had snow tubing. It was supposed to be the next Saturday. I'm like, I want to go. What about that? And they said, well, ask. And next thing I hear, it's for children only. No, they didn't want me to go. They didn't want me to go because there was parents with those children. I looked at the clock. It was exactly 9:19 in the morning. It was a snow day. What am I so? Okay, I'm going to end this here. Yeah, I got to end this here. It's too much. This is too much. This is one day of my life here. 1 day of my life, because it still wasn't 24 hours yet. Okay, so there was a Zoom church that Sunday. Yeah, this is 2 days, okay, because I just slept 1 day. So I didn't really have much to say, except for I had to leave my house when it's negative 17 degrees outside, go to some event that's canceled. They're watching me in trucks. Yeah, you see me show up. No one's there, haha, and then I have to bike back. Yeah, thanks. But I did it. Anyways, yeah. There's too much to cover. This is 1 hour and 28 minutes. This is done for now. I'm going to post this. But these are pretty cool. I thought I would be having fun at this Native American event. And they've kept me out of all the dances. So maybe I'll do the drum dance and stuff. So I get to go to the dance. I don't like to dance. I don't even like to dance. I just, don't want to be excluded from things. But, so I'm going to look real cool. I got my fanny pack. Got my life recovery badge. And my Native American accessories. And my fuzzy jacket from Temu. And my Temu hat. And so I'm like a celebrity in my town. Because, you see the woman on the bike with the Temu hat, that's me. Because everybody knows me. So I'm just going to have fun with it. There are good people in that Mormon church, but it's too uptight. It's too, I think they're sexually repressed, and I didn't even know about the underwear. Before they invited me to the church, a month before they invited me to the church, they changed the woman's underwear. So now that they've got a tank top version. And, actually some of the underwear is not a great idea. But it's like they knew this is silly. This isn't what God prescribed. You have to have cap sleeves on your bras. Who cares? Who cares? But anyways, they need to have fun. And so that's what God is having me do. So what I'm saying is that this looks silly. This is a fuzzy jacket. this, it looks a little silly, and this looks silly, and this surely looks silly. And so this is important to say we need to have more fun in our lives. And even though they don't ban music, like they only really listen to certain types, because it's like in an attempt to be, there's this fake morality that God doesn't prescribe. So God's put me out there. I'm not being a clown. I'm not being a clown. But I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that we are allowed to be free, and we're allowed to dress in different ways. We're not allowed to show our chests. Women, don't show your chests. Don't wear stuff that's too tight. Men, don't wear pants that are too tight. We know this. We know this already. But I'm saying is you can express yourself, and you know. But anyways, I'm gonna try to have fun, and it looks like they need to have a little more fun too. So I'm gonna try to do that to show them like it doesn't have to be so rigid. It's okay to have fun in a way that doesn't harm people and where you're not sinning. So that's what I try to do. Um, as horrible as many things in my life are, there are moments of joy, like when they try to kill me and they fail.